Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am very pleased to have had opportunity to welcome President Zelenskyy here.
Пані та панове, добрий день. Я дуже рад, що у мене була можливість привітати у нас пана президента Зеленського.
2 years have passed since his last visit. We had the opportunity to talk to the press about the situation and our cooperation. Zelensky's visit came on the days when there was an uprising in Prague against the Russian occupation. We have our own experience. We know how important it is to fight the aggressor. We know that we cannot give in to the aggressor. We understand everything that Ukraine is doing and how courageously it is fighting Russian aggression. We assured Mr. President and the delegation that the Czech Republic will continue to support Ukraine in its struggle. We realize that Ukraine is not only defending its territory, independence, and integrity, but also defending the whole of Europe and its security. Throughout this entire period of Russia's war against Ukraine, we have admired the courage of the Ukrainian people. We will always support Ukraine. I would like to thank our citizens for supporting Ukraine from the very beginning, for helping with their fees, for helping Czech politicians to provide assistance to Ukraine. And they also accept and fight the challenges of Russian aggression. We talk not only about the international situation, but also about bilateral cooperation. Bilateral cooperation is successfully developing not only in the defense military sphere, but also in the economic sphere. For us, cooperation with Ukraine is a great opportunity for our industry. Last year, exports from Czech companies to Ukraine increased by 45%. In 2022, it was 25 billion. That is, compared to 2022, this is a 75% increase. I can mention several projects that will be implemented in Ukraine and are being implemented. These include deliveries of cogeneration units worth 80 million euros or windmills in eastern Ukraine worth 60 million euros. Other projects are being prepared. Today we discussed some of them. Skoda Transportation is planning supplies in the transportation sector. We also talked about the possible development of cooperation in nuclear energy, where our countries have potential. Nuclear engineering already cooperates with Ukraine quite intensively. The firms are ready to take an active part in the reconstruction of key infrastructure in Ukraine, and we can develop cooperation in other areas as well. We talked about some of them specifically. As for military cooperation, we are ready to deepen our contribution to the training of the Ukrainian military. We have agreed that together with our partners from the Coalition of the Willing, we will train Ukrainian pilots on F-16 and L-39. The training will take place at bases in the Czech Republic. Ukraine trains fighter pilots on Czech models supplied to Ukraine. The Czech Artillery Initiative, which helps Ukraine in its defense, is also continuing successfully. We are able to provide supplies as we planned and will continue to do so. I would like to mention one important indicator here. Since the beginning of the year, we have supplied 500,000 pieces of ammunition to Ukraine. I hope that we will continue to deliver large caliber charges so efficiently. In addition to military aid or ammunition, we can say that to date we have acted as intermediaries in 2 deliveries of 2,000 pieces of heavy equipment, 300 tanks, and 50 rocket launchers. And I could go on with this list. Of course, our cooperation and our assistance is not only in the economic and military spheres, but the Czech Republic has also received the largest number of Ukrainian refugees, whom we helped to integrate in the Czech Republic. In the future, we want to work towards giving people who are interested in returning to Ukraine the opportunity to do so. The Unity Hub project will serve for this purpose. A joint declaration was signed today. A Center for Ukrainian Unity will be opened. I believe that this will help the integration of Ukrainians in the Czech Republic and help them return to Ukraine. Today, a memorandum of cooperation was signed between higher education institutions and the Ukrainian Foundation for Education, Sports, and Science. I believe that we must not forget that in addition to the military sphere, there is this important part of our mutual relations. In conclusion, I would like to emphasize that the Czech Republic supports solutions that will ensure a just and sustainable peace for Ukraine and allow it to remain an independent state.
Які забезпечать для України справедливий і стійкий мир і дозволять їй залишити незалежною державою.
It will be a peace that no one will doubt exists and that will not mean success for Russia's aggressive policy. We are actively involved in the Coalition of the Willing. This is a coalition that is ready to help Ukraine and will continue to help Ukraine in times of peace. We need to plan for this now, and we are convinced that a strong Ukrainian army will be the most important thing for Europe.
Переконані, що найважливішою для Європи буде сильна українська армія.
Ukraine can always count on us. In the future, we will do everything to ensure that Ukrainians win.
В майбутньому будемо робити все для того, щоб справедлива боротьба українців проти російської агресії щоб українці перемогли.
Now I'd like to ask President Volodymyr Zelenskyy.
Mr. Prime Minister, dear attendees, dear teams, dear journalists, thank you for the meeting and for our very specific work together.
The Czech Republic has supported us from the start, helping protect our people and independence.
Ukraine greatly appreciates your support, and we are interested in expanding everything we do together. I would like to thank Mr. Prime Minister personally, and I would like to thank all our Czech friends, first of all, for their defense cooperation.
The Czech artillery initiative is effective, and we expect better results this year.
We appreciate the Czech Republic's readiness to help develop our combat aviation. One of the results of this visit is the detailing of the project to create a Ukrainian-Czech F-16 school, and we are ready to implement this project as soon as possible. I am grateful for today's meeting and all our interaction with the Czech defense campaigns. Before the meeting with the Prime Minister, we had a very substantive discussion. We discussed specific work with the Czech defense industry. We are interested in seeing our bilateral ties reflected in more production, new localizations in Ukraine, and more tangible technological development.
I'm confident that defense cooperation will drive job creation and economic growth in both our countries, contributing significantly to Europe's security.
We have something to implement together for at least 5 years. There are many different projects, many developments. Czech companies are aware of all these relevant prospects. I would like to recognize the professional work of the team of the Czech state, the Prime Minister, and the Czech government. This war is about the freedom of many nations, not just Ukraine. The flags on Moscow's tanks may change. Maybe after Putin they will paint something else. But Moscow's desire to control other nations in Europe, which has been driving their tanks for decades, will not change.
Our meeting is symbolic, marking the anniversary of the Prague uprising.
An anniversary that proves that the dignity of people always trumps any oppression. I informed our Czech friends about our actions on the battlefield. We also discussed diplomacy, Russia's very clear rejection of many proposals for a real lasting ceasefire. We discussed the need for further pressure on Russia. This primarily concerns sanctions. Sanctions against Russia for the war must remain and be strengthened constantly, as long as Russia delays and as long as they intensify their aggression. We also discussed today the interaction at the level of European and Euro-Atlantic structures.
The Czech Republic supports Ukraine's EU accession. Ukraine has completed the first stages and is ready to open the first clusters soon.
We need a political decision in Europe, a decision that should be made by Europe itself, not by someone trying to manipulate the whole of Europe.
We appreciate the Czech Republic's continued coordination in negotiations and discussed nuclear energy cooperation.
I congratulate the Czech Republic on its progress in the nuclear industry.
The Czech Republic's energy independence from Russia is a historic achievement.
It is important not to give Russia money for war. This is one of the most important security principles. We have a common potential in the healthcare sector. We are grateful to the Czech medical mission in Ukraine, especially for helping our Ukrainian veterans. We greatly appreciate the Czech Republic's assistance in rebuilding our medical facilities, in particular in Dnipro, Lviv, Rivne, Kryvyi Rih, Kiev, and Lutsk. We also have potential in infrastructure projects. All of this is important to implement. We expect the Czech government to come to Ukraine, to make joint decisions, to hold meetings, to discuss real things in such formats. I would like to emphasize the efforts of government officials regarding the Ukrainian community in the Czech Republic. We are preparing to open a Ukrainian hub, and we have just signed this decision. The hub in Prague, the center of our national life in the Czech Republic, the center of increasing ties between Ukraine and the Czech Republic. I am grateful to the government and the entire Czech Republic for their sincere support of Ukraine, for their respect for our people. Thank you for the invitation. Glory to Ukraine. And now, please, I would like to ask 2 questions. First, Czech television. Katerina, Czech television. I have a question for President Zelensky about the meeting with the opposition. Can you tell me if you spoke specifically about the Czech artillery initiative? Do you have any fears that the situation in the Czech Republic might change after the elections?
Чи нема у вас побоювань, що може змінитися після виборів ситуація в Чеській Республіці?
Elections in the Czech Republic are an internal matter, and we respect your sovereignty.
To the right of your citizens to choose the present and the future for themselves. And this is a very sensational issue. This is exactly what Russia has been raising all along in Ukraine.
She tried to influence Ukraine's citizens, disregarding sovereignty, territorial integrity, and rights.
So I can only thank absolutely all the parliamentarians, all the representatives today. There were different representatives. As you said, there were also opposition forces. But I am very glad that all of them, at least today, it sounded like that, all of them support Ukraine. Understand that Ukraine is defending not only Ukraine, it is defending the life and security of the Czech Republic, the life and security of the whole of Europe. I think it's symbolic that we all understand this in the same way. There can be no opposition to the lives and safety of people. And the second question is from Ukrinform. I have a question for Mr. Prime Minister Fiala. Ukrainians have refugee status until next year. Can we talk today about their fate? The document on the hub has just been signed. How will these centers be able to help Ukrainians return home to Ukraine?
Зараз було підписано документ про хаб. Чи і як зможуть ці центри допомогти у поверненні українців додому, до України?
Thank you for your question. As I have already said, the Czech Republic is the country that has received the most Ukrainian refugees per head of population. On the one hand, of course, these figures show that our decision was successful, that we as a society managed to overcome these obstacles. Now 160,000 are working in our labor market.
Нам, як суспільству, вдалося подолати ці перешкоди і наступну інтеграцію біженців. Зараз 160 тисяч працює на нашому ринку праці.
You're talking about refugee protection, which is valid in the European Union until March 2026.
В Європейському Союзі діє до березня 26-го року.
Of course, we can't wait until the last minute to find out what the situation will be. In June, we will have a meeting at the Ministry of Internal Affairs. There is a representative of the Ministry of Internal Affairs here. There, I hope, a European position will be defined and a solution will be proposed. We always say that our proposals will depend on the current situation.
We must decide what happens after March 2026.
The relevant hubs, such as unit hubs, National unity hubs are being opened and will be opened in many countries where there is a large presence of Ukrainian citizens. We are opening in Germany, Spain, Poland, the Czech Republic. We are discussing the United Kingdom, and so on. That is, it is a constant work. I only understand when it started. I don't know when it will end, how much effort we will need from these respective hubs to keep in touch with Ukrainians abroad. It is important to emphasize that we strongly believe that after the hot phase of the war is over, Ukrainians will have the opportunity to return to Ukraine. And you know that there are different reasons why people went abroad. There are family separations. There are places where heroic men stayed to defend the state. Women with children left. There are many reasons for this.
Each country has its own reasons, but they are essentially the same.
In any case, the war is a tragedy that separated families, leaving them without homes, without life, without children, without childhood. And our task in this hub is to provide legal services to help Ukrainians find their place in Ukraine, to return if they want to, and have the opportunity to return to Ukraine and find themselves there, and to help with employment, etc. There are many different issues that need to be addressed. For this purpose, appropriate platforms exist, are being opened, and will continue to be opened. Thank you.
Moc děkuji, já tiskový briefing končím, přejeme.